Hello YouTube tarot friends, it's Hermit Rider, and today I thought I would hop into the Wayback Machine and take a quick look at my very first tarot deck. So, as you probably have guessed, it is a Rider Waite Colman Smith deck with the plaid background, which I actually kind of like. It looks a little like tartan to me. This deck came in a kit, or came as a kit, with an abridged version of the book Tarot for Dummies. So this was also the first tarot book that I purchased, although the first book that I read was Waite's Pictorial Key. I got that from the library. And then I went out in October of 2006 and purchased this book and deck kit. I'm sure we are all familiar with the imagery of the Rider Waite, and it was pretty much love at first sight. I knew I was interested in tarot cards. For a long time they'd scared me. I had quite an aversion to all things occult, but as I grew and learned more, I realized that they weren't so scary after all, and when I finally purchased my own deck, I pretty much fell in love with it right away. I will always have a soft spot for this deck, especially this deck in particular, because this is the first deck that I purchased. I don't really do public readings with this particular deck. I have a couple other Rider Waite Smith decks that I use for public readings. A lot of people say that this deck is very yellow. This Chariot card is a perfect example of that, with this very bright yellow background and these very yellow wheels. That doesn't honestly bother me all that much. The Fool, also a very yellow card, but I just think it has a real charm. The whole deck has a real charm to it. It's very approachable. The minors they read very intuitively. You get a sense of what the card's about, even if you haven't read the actual book meanings. The cards are not, I don't want to say sticky, but I don't know any other way to describe it other than maybe just a little bit sticky. It's very easy to pull 2 cards at once with this deck. I always like this version of the Ten of Pentacles because of the 2 dogs. They remind me of one of my old dogs. There was a Whippet mix, and these are very similar. They look like maybe Italian Greyhounds. And I have 2 dogs currently, so having the 2 here makes me think of my animal companions. Another very yellow background on the Strength card. So yeah, this is where it all began for me. And this book was, the first one that I really studied card meanings deeply. I used the Pictorial Key just to get an idea of what the card meanings were. I was beta reading a story that a friend had written, part of a cycle of stories she was working on involving the tarot. And and I figured it would be good to have some background on what the cards meant. And after that, I decided to get my own deck and learn how to actually read them. And I just kept going from there. So I purchased this first, and I very soon after purchased a copy of the Universal Waite. And there are some other clone decks that I picked up, and then I moved into Tarot de Masse territory and haven't looked back since. So I hope you've enjoyed this short video. If you would care to share what your first tarot deck is or was, feel free to leave that in the comments, and I will talk to you again soon.